of the Education and Pupil Services Committee meeting will please come to order. I will now turn over the Education and Pupil Services Committee agenda to co-chair. Who's going to do it
Gina
tonight?
Curry.
I didn't hear.
Gina
Miss
Curry.
Vice President Curry, please take it away.
Yes, thank you, Board President Brown. Good evening. So for the Education and Pupil Services Committee meeting, would you please review the agenda items, Ms. Kelly?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have 4 agenda items. All of these items will require board action. The first item is Delaware County Community College Dual Enrollment Opportunity that Dr. Manfrey and I will present. The second item is a high school English proposed changes to the curriculum. Ms. Kathy Kenya is still on the line and I hope awake, and she will be presenting some curricular changes. The third item is the 21-22 District 1-page calendar, which will require board action. And then the fourth item, Mr. Marshallak will provide information on the rapid antigen testing, also requiring board action for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. You may start with the first agenda item.
Okay. Dr. Manfrey, I'm going to turn it right over to you as you're going to start the presentation and talk about Delaware County.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kelly. Mrs. Kelly and I had an opportunity to meet with Delaware County Community College. We are attempting to expand our students' opportunities here at the high school for additional dual enrollment programs. We met with a gentleman by the name of Phil Lacemia, who was going to join us this evening, but because of the length of the charter school application review presentation, we told him that we believed that we could handle his portion of the presentation. So this evening, I'm going to review the agenda quickly for this presentation. If you could move to slide 2, Mrs. Kelly. On the agenda, we will discuss, remind the board, what is dual enrollment. We'll talk about the current dual enrollment opportunities for Upper Darby High School students, and we will review a new dual enrollment opportunity, as I stated earlier. Dual enrollment refers to Upper Darby High School's students' ability to be enrolled in Upper Darby and take college courses at the same time. In this particular case, Delaware County Community College. This opportunity is reserved for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, although commonly 11th and 12th graders are the students who have fulfilled Chapter 4 requirements and are able to participate. As a matter of fact, we have had numerous students at Upper Darby High School who have been able to attain 12, 15 credits from Delaware County Community College before leaving Upper Darby High School as graduates. So normally college officials, along with Upper Darby High School's administrative team and counselors, review applications, and by review applications, obviously, I mean they take a look at students' transcripts, their grades, their GPA, their college entrance exams, to decide whether or not those students would be eligible for a dual enrollment program. Next slide. Currently, we have courses in English, composition, psychology, communication, sociology in our dual enrollment agreement with Delaware County Community College. Some of the benefits are that these credits normally transfer to four-year colleges. Oftentimes, students are able to complete associate's degrees while still enrolled at Upper Darby High School. And a lot of times, students complete a certification in a particular trade, which this evening we'll be talking about that kind of dual enrollment program. So this is the program through Delaware County Community College. It's called the Workforce and Economic Development Dual Enrollment Opportunity. And basically, the program that is going to be made available for our students for the 2022-2023 school year is the Dual Enrollment Carpentry program, which will enable students at Upper Darby High School to participate in a plethora of activities in regards to this profession, and also possibly earn a certificate in carpentry, which will allow them to begin working in the fields of, building, installing, repairing residential structures, framing, cabinetry, siding, drywall, you name it, in the carpentry field. They will be exploring it in their 11th and 12th grade years here at Upper Darby High School. This slide is an example of what an 11th and 12th grader's life may look like in the first semester and second semester as an 11th grader, and in the first semester and second semester as a 12th grader. You can see that they're going from carpentry fundamentals in the first semester all the way to interior finishing, among other things. So they will be going through these courses in 11th and 12th grade at Delaware County Community College, in addition to being duly enrolled here at Upper Darby High School. Phil Leucemia wanted us to also make mention, and we'll do this as quickly as we possibly can because these slides really are not about our proposal, that future considerations at Delaware County Community College include the electrical program, an electrical program. This is an example of what that electrical program may look like for 11th and 12th graders. I'll pause on that for a second. Again, first semester 11th grade, second semester 11th grade, and the 12th grade year. The carpentry and electrical program, this is a skilled trade associate degree, which also encompasses applied sciences. And this would be the proposed schedule for that future consideration. Electromechanical, and this is a description of what those individuals in this profession do. Again, these are future considerations for Delaware County Community College, and if we are, if you approve us pursuing this dual enrollment agreement, our students would be eligible for these programs in the future as well. And again, this is just an example. They've already mapped out what the electromechanical program proposed schedule would be. And they would be able to receive an advanced technology associate's degree. And as I understand it, most of those credits would carry over into a 4-year program. During high school, students are given the opportunity to earn a certificate. They are also afforded the opportunity to earn an associate's degree, I believe, by the end of their freshman year in college. Students have the opportunity to earn a bachelor's degree from Bloomsburg University out of this program. Delaware County Community College already has their own not dual enrollment agreement, but their own credit agreement, credit transfer agreement with Bloomsburg University. So these students' credits would automatically be accepted by Bloomsburg University. I believe Phil said as long as it was a C in the class or higher. So for the implementation plan would be that the carpentry would begin in the fall of 2022. And if Phil is able to get the electrical and electromechanical programs up and running, they would run in the fall of 2023. I do want you to know that this program from Delaware County Community College perspective has been running for several years, and some of our neighboring school districts, including Interborough School District and Ridley School District, have been participating successfully, very successfully in this program. The cost is $63 per credit, which is the current pricing. The dual enrollment folks and Phil did warn us that could be a little bit higher in 2022, 2023. And you should know that some of the school districts who participate, like Interborough and Ridley, actually pick up the cost of this program for their students. So that would be something that would be on the table for discussion. I did the whole thing. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Dr.
You were
Manfrey.
supposed to jump in. I got excited. I'm sorry. So we're happy to field any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Manfrey. I believe there's quite a few questions. It looks like School Board Member Des Noyers has the first question.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I do think these are good opportunities. I'm especially excited about the electromechanical technician. But the for the other two programs, the carpentry and electrical, possibly the electromechanical technician, I don't know, but it seems to me that the school district offers some potentially similar opportunities through their CTE programs run by the IU, and I would like to just make sure that the expense for the student of pursuing the dual enrollment option, is justified by the fact that they have to put money out of pocket. And my second, the second thing I'd like to bring up is the fact that we have two somewhat similar programs in the county. One run by Delaware County Community College, one run by the IU, and I would like to hope that these entities work together so that to minimize programmatic overlaps and thereby save taxpayer money. And I'm thinking that we have several school board members who are liaisons to these two entities, that maybe they can suggest or make sure that that is being pursued. But I do believe these are this is a good opportunity. Thank you.
Mr. Desnoyers, I appreciate your question. That was actually a discussion that we had as a cabinet regarding this opportunity. Unfortunately, to be perfectly honest with you, I see these two programs as being competing entities. The difference being that the CTE program that's currently being offered by the IU does not provide our students with the opportunity to gain college credit, Delaware County Community College credit. And in terms of price, they are very comparable. In fact, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Kelly, but I believe that the Delaware County Community College program presented here this evening may be even cheaper than the CTE program to run from the district's perspective. So I think that, in speaking with other school districts who are involved in this program, it does take, honestly, students away from the IU CTE program. So I don't want to mislead any board members into believing that these two entities are working together. These are competing programs, frankly.
Yeah, and and when I hear that, I think to myself, well, both the community college and the IU are government entities, so I don't believe we have to worry about antitrust statutes, so they should be able to work together quite comprehensively to maximize the benefit gained from taxpayer dollars.
Thank you. I believe School Board Director Mrs. Mitchell is up.
Thank you for this presentation. As the board member who sits on the Delaware County Intermediate Unit, I just want to ask a couple clarifying questions. Dr. Manfrey, have we had students that have been turned away for lack of space or it wouldn't work with the student schedule to participate in these 3 trades opportunities that I don't think all 3 actually are offered at the IU, but do you know if any students might have been turned away or it didn't work for their schedule and how this would benefit our students for flexibility and also the college credits that are offered and the ability to continue the program seamlessly?
Board Member Mitchell, I'm honestly not aware of any of our Upper Darby High School students who have been turned away from our CTE programs.
Okay, but would you say that there might not be adequate space all the time in our CTE programs, or perhaps it's not adequately advertised?
Yeah, so there are caps on these programs. So there's caps on the CTE programs. There's also a cap on this Carpentry program as well, because of the number of students that would be taking part in the hands-on activities that are there. So, so that students would have a choice. They could choose to remain in a CTE program or elect to go into the Delaware County pathway and pursue that associate's degree. So they are 2 different pieces competing, like Dr. Manfrey said, and they are capped because the students do travel in a cohort.
Okay, and then I know you had said at the end of the presentation that you wanted to discuss possibly funding the credits for these programs for dual enrollment. Is that like a broader discussion, Dr. Manfrey? I know it's late, that maybe we should be talking about like how we are going to help students to access the different pathways to graduation that involve dual enrollment. I know it's late and it sounds like a discussion. Do you have any estimates, like how many students might participate in these programs? How much would it cost the taxpayers to fund these programs? Maybe we could put it on like next month's agenda to discuss.
We're certainly open to that. As a reminder, we did this early because originally we were hoping that we would be able to get this approved and up and running for 2021, 2022, but we felt like for planning purposes, we would be rushing it. So yes, we can certainly bring this back for a deeper discussion in terms of funding it for our students to be able to participate, but we're putting it off for 2022, 2023 for course selection guide purposes, scheduling purposes. We want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. So we certainly have the opportunity to discuss that further. Yes.
I guess like the question is really the funding part. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to object to our students having other opportunities.
Thank you very much. Good question. I believe board member Mr. Neal has the next question.
Thank you, Vice President Curry. Just a clarifying question. I'm a little confused on who's actually teaching the programs. Is it one of our high school teachers, or is it a staff member from the college? And where would it take place for both the like you said, the English 100 and these other programs that you ended with?
Dual enrollment programs typically mean that the college who you have the agreement with staff would be teaching these courses.
So that it's not at a cost to us to staff those, or is that at a cost to us?
We do not pay the staff member that the college does.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of my question.
Good evening, and yes, thank you for that presentation. It was just awesome and very exciting to see. Just guess a question or suggestion that if we haven't already done so, have we considered partnering with the labor union supporting those trades. Typically with trades, they can lead into, they can, instead of going to a 4-year institution, could go into an apprenticeship and then end up with a job that would pay for their 4-year degree. So just wanting to consider that, where you kind of have a kid that that's obtained a certification that's employable, potentially employable at the time of high school graduation.
Mrs. Dawes, I do know that Phil Leucemia, when we met with him, spoke about this, and the Delaware County Community College does have those connections with the local trades organizations and unions to help students if they're not interested in moving forward with a degree. But I do know that Dr. McGarry wanted to comment on your question as well.
I'm sure Board President Brown's itching to beat me to this comment that I'm going to make, but he and I, feels like forever ago, but it wasn't, met with the, Ms. Dawes, to your comment, met with union leaders down in Chester, I believe, Board President Brown, to discuss this very topic. To be honest, because of the pandemic, I have not had an opportunity to, move this conversation where we need to your point. But we have received several invitations and cards following that meeting to work on this concept that you bring up, Leah. So I appreciate you asking the question. I'll get on that quickly once we get out of this pandemic, but it's a good point.
Thank you for that question. I have the last comment or question, actually. I was curious to know if this is an excellent, I feel like it's a great program that we're introducing through DCCC. I wanted to know if this would be introduced to our students at the middle school level as they are trying to decide what their career path is going to be. I know we do that in the elementary school, but just to be able to communicate it to our students who are going into the high school and what they would be looking towards.
Yes, Mrs. Curry, it's a great question. Our middle school students are exposed to all kinds of professions during their 3 middle school years, including carpentry and the trades. And we track those exposures because of ESSA through our Naviance program. So yes, all the way down into the middle school, they are exposed to these different career opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. Manfrey. I really appreciate that, because I think the earlier that we, introduce it, then they can begin to start thinking about where they want to go once they get to the high school. A great pathway. Thank you very much.
And if I may, I'll only add that in addition to that, and I apologize for interrupting, but we really have professionally, I want to commend Mrs. Elgart. We've really did a lot of PD with our middle school counselors around this exact topic, in that we start having these conversations with kids, Mrs. Curry, as early as 6th and 7th grade, and have the conversation about what opportunities they have at Upper Darby High School. And certainly this would be added to that conversation.
Great. I believe Board President Brown has the next question.
Yes, I just had a quick question. You list the courses in the presentation that are the most popular ones. Is there any desire or plan to expand it to like maybe the technology courses or the engineering courses taught at the high school? Those would be the ones I would be interested in if I was in high school and wanted to do a dual enrollment. I would want to link it to a certification at Delaware County Community College. So.
I don't know that we have explored those options at this point, to be honest with you, Mr. Brown, but we can certainly take those suggestions into consideration.
Because you mentioned certifications that they offer, and they do offer like a Security Plus and a Linux Plus. There's some low-level certifications that I think our students would be interested in attaining early which would position them nicely for four-year schools.
We do offer some certifications through our business department, like the Microsoft certifications and things of that nature.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from board members this evening on this particular agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Dr. Manfrey, for the extensive answers to our questions on that particular agenda item. I believe Ms. Kelly has the next agenda item. Thank you.
I'm going to try with this agenda item if Greg lets me speak. No. So the second item is for Miss Kathy Kenya, who is on the line. She is going to discuss some planned instruction changes for our ELA courses. In auditing our curriculum and our curriculum resources, we've been looking for ways to be more inclusive. So Kathy has been working tremendously hard with the ELA teachers up at the high school here to make some of these changes. What we are attempting to do is to revise and to bring some novels of fiction and nonfiction into the courses that are listed up on the screen. So African American literature, American Studies, and English 9. And these stories have been vetted through the English department. The teachers have read the novels and have completed all the ARs.
The first book we're going to talk about is Between the World and Me. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of each book, and then I'll be available for questions. Ta-Nehisi Coates is an American author and journalist raised in West Baltimore. Coates gained a wide readership during his time as a national correspondent at The Atlantic, where he wrote about cultural, social, and political issues, particularly regarding African Americans. As a side note, he's also the current author of Marvel Comics, The Black Panther, and Captain America. Between the World and Me is a #1 New York Times bestseller, a National Book Award winner, an NAACP Image Award winner, a Pulitzer Prize finalist, National Books Critics Circle Award finalist, and it was named as one of the 10 best books of the year by the New York Times Book Review. The book is nonfiction. It's a memoir written in letter form by a 40-year-old Coates to his 15-year-old son, sharing his life experiences, his opinions, and feelings about his life as a Black man in an attempt to guide his son in finding his place in modern-day America. The book's emphasis on fatherhood, family, and learning offers a robust foundation for understanding our nation's history and the current state of social unrest. Our second book, Read at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. Woodson is the author of dozens of award-winning books for young adults, middle graders, and children. Read at the Bone is her second adult novel. It's a story of two very different urban Black families whose lives become permanently intertwined due to a teen pregnancy. The book moves in and out of different periods, revealing the consequences of decisions, especially those made by young people. Woodson also explores how identity intersects with class, race, sexuality, gender, and history. How Dare the Sunrise, Memoirs of a War Child, was written by Sandra Uringimana. Uringimana was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and this book is her first novel. The book is a tale of how a 10-year-old girl from the Democratic Republic of Congo survived a massacre, immigrated to America, ended up in a middle school in New York, and overcame her trauma by working on her education and dedicating her life to activism. The memoir explores themes of belonging, identity, survival, poverty, race relations, and hope. Given the current climate in the U.S. regarding immigrants and refugees, this is an essential read that can help us humanize those situations. Our fourth book, The Nickel Boys, written by Colson Whitehead. Whitehead's reviews, essays, and fiction have appeared in the New York Times, The New Yorker, New York Magazine, Harper's, and Granada, which is a literary magazine in the UK. The Nickel Boys is his 9th novel. The Nickel Boys won the Pulitzer Prize, the Kirkus Prize for Fiction, and the Orwell Prize for Political Fiction. It is also a New York Times bestseller. It is a fictitious story, but it's based on a true story of Florida's Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys that operated as a reform school known for its racist and abusive practices. The story revolves around two boys sentenced to the Nickel Academy during the Jim Crow era of the 1960s. Themes include friendship, trauma, civil rights, unity, power, fear, support, racism, and hope. The final book, The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven, by Sherman Alexie, was written by Alexie. He was born on the Spokane Indian Reservation in Washington. He's a Native American writer whose poetry, short stories, novels, and films about the lives of American Indians won him an international following. The book is a collection of interwoven stories that won the Hemingway Award for the best first book of fiction, Lila Wallace's Reader's Digest Writers Award, the Washington State Governor's Writers Award, and the Best American Short Stories 1994. The book contains 22 short stories narrated by a cast of characters filled with passion, humor, compassion, perseverance, and dreams. Alexie vividly weaves memory, fantasy, and stark reality to paint a portrait of life in and around the Spokane Reservation. He depicts the distances between Indians and whites, reservation Indians and urban Indians, men and women, and most poetically between modern Indians and past traditions. Themes include poverty, resilience, alcoholism, racism, and isolation.
So we're seeking implementation for the fall of 2021 because this is a curricular change. So we do have to remap it to our curriculum. So that does take a little bit of time in meeting with the timeline on our policies. The approximate cost for these novels is about $16,000. I've put this as part of our proposed budget for the new CARES funding. So it would be no cost to the district that way, but it would be a cost through the new CARES money that we are seeking. Kathy would start the professional development as early as 2021, but like I said, the teachers have been a big part of these conversations already. They are looking for new ways to make these changes, and they've been very excited about it. So they've already read these novels and are willing to partake in the professional development and lead some of the professional development starting as early as June of 2021 and then following up in August.
Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, thank you very much. This is just a comment for all the administrators. I just want to ask the community that's still listening or watching this later to look at what has been introduced and approved tonight. Athletics from both meetings, athletics, trades, curriculum, right? Changes and improvements to all these areas. That is almost everything that can be offered by a school. And starting tonight, they are all in the process of being improved. And I think it's really great. I just want to tell the administration I appreciate that, again, you guys are demonstrating your ability to walk, chew gum, and juggle flaming knives all at the same time. And I thank you very much for that. And that's all I have to say about this.
Thank you, School Board Director, Mr. Fields. I think the next question or comment up is School Board Director, Mr. Desnoyers.
Thank you. I would just like to compliment the English department and the curriculum folks for their courageous choices in literature. I believe these choices significantly advance equity in our district or broaden the understanding of equity issues in our district.
Thank you.
Thank you, School Board Member Desnoyers. Is that the extent of your comment?
That's the extent of my comment.
Okay, thank you. And I had the last comment. As one of the co-chairs for the Education and Pupil Services Committee, I just would like to say that as I went through the ARs to look at what books had been recommended by our wonderful English teachers, and I believe I believe there was an English teacher, Ms. Kenya, you can help me, and maybe social studies. I know that they took great pride in looking for the correct literature for us to help our students to get a better understanding of some of these topics. This is very courageous, and I look forward to seeing the same type of curriculum and literature recommendations for the middle school level as well. Just thank you for the hard work that you put into it. And particularly that first one, Between the World and Me, that's one of the ones that I have read personally and used in my own collegiate classrooms when I've taught. And so I'm really excited about these titles. Thank you.
I just want to note that it was the English department. I don't believe there was anybody from social studies. And I'd encourage you all to read all of them. I've read them all over this summer, and they're all fabulous books.
Yes, I think we're looking forward to that. Definitely. I have all the titles. And so thank you very much for this presentation. Are there any other comments from the board or questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Kenya.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I think that was it. Thank you, Ms. Kelly, for that particular agenda item. We can move forward to agenda item number 3.
Okay, agenda item number 3 is the district one-page calendar. This will require board action. Every year we start this process in about January. It has become our labor of love for Rhonda and I, that the drafts of this calendar and the changes and everything else, and especially with the 2021 school year, it's been definitely a challenge. This school year, or the upcoming school year, 21-22 school year calendar, I'm going to show you just some highlights. Whenever we're talking about the beginning of the school year, just thinking like a parent, well, when are the students coming back? When are the breaks? What do I have to worry about? So these are the highlights of the calendar. A draft of the one page has been added to board docs at this point. Some formatting, it is still a draft in that the formatting still has to be adjusted. Like I said, it's one of those pieces that as you shift one thing, the whole entire calendar and page changes. So we have been working on that as a team. But just some highlights of the calendar. So we're proposing that the first day of school for students in grades K through 12 would be Monday, August 30th. Again, starting before Labor Day like we have in the past. Looking at some professional development days before the students come back to school, and then after, throughout the school year, there would be 3 of them: November 2nd, February 18th, and May 27th. So this is a mirror image of the original 2021 calendar before everything started for us. We're looking at a proposed date for graduation of June 9th, Thursday, June 9th of 2022. And then following that, the last day of school for the students and last day for teachers. The calendar, we watched, of course, the 180 days for our students. So we have 183 built in, as well as our teacher days and adhering to the contract. The teachers union has had a copy of the calendar as well for any feedback at this point. And just some other important dates. As you will see, the testing windows for state testing, they have been released already for the 22 testing year. We administer a test in Winter Wave 1. As you are well aware, we administer Keystone exams for Winter Wave 2. PSSAs are taking up more time, it feels. April 25th to May 13th is that testing window at this point for all students in grades 3 through 8. And then we finish up and again with a spring wave for our Keystone exams for students in grades 7 through 12 and our middle school students that would be taking Algebra 1 at that point. So again, there are a lot of testing days and windows that are there. in our calendar that you will see reflected. This also includes the makeup windows on the calendar, so the testing days and the makeup windows that are provided by the state of Pennsylvania. Additional important items for people are just the monthly early dismissals, with the exception of January for the high school because of final exams and April because of state testing. We have conferences, again, scheduled for grades K through 8 in November, and an additional day for kindergarten in November as well. The winter break remains consistent with almost this year, and the spring break does as well, just a little bit later in the season. So at this point, that is really the review of the district calendar. Does anybody have any questions about how the year will look for the 21-22 school year?
Yes, I believe School Board Director Mr. Fields has a question.
No, I don't. I'm not messing with this calendar. I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I believe School Board Director Mr. Neal has a question.
Yeah, I just have a comment on the visuals. The colors on the numbers can be hard to distinguish. I was wondering if there was something that you guys could look into, like maybe like bolding the numbers, just so the color is a little bit more apparent in the calendar when viewing the actual months. So that's just kind of a comment I wanted to share.
Yeah,
But good job.
Mr. Neal, we've been working on, Aranda and I have been working on that, even looking at new software options at this point, because it is definitely a challenge. And we've looked at it in ways to make it more appealing even for people to read, because everything is kind of squashed onto one page. So we are working on revising how it will look as well.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I believe that is the end of the questions for the school board members, unless someone has another comment or question. If not, thank you, Mrs. Kelly, for that presentation.
You're welcome. The fourth agenda item for this evening is the rapid antigen testing. Mr. Edward Marshallak is over there, and he's going to start this presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. And realizing that I am the last presentation before bedtime, I'm going to make this as thorough, but it also as quick as we possibly can. So, just to update the public who's still with us, and also to seek consensus from the board to move something called a memorandum of agreement forward to the next board meeting, which I'll go into more detail tonight as a requirement for rapid antigen testing. So, just some of the basics. This is to provide on-site rapid testing for COVID-19 in all of our school settings. It's a partnership with Chester County Health Department, the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania's Policy Lab, and the Delaware County Intermediate Unit, along with local area school districts, to bring this to our schools. Another layer of our mitigation efforts here in our reopening of schools. What it uses is what's called the Abbott, is the manufacturer of the Binex Now COVID-19 AG card. It's a testing kit that utilizes a nasal swab. And I want to emphasize to everyone who's listening, this is not the invasive nasal swab that goes in the back of your throat that you might see in a typical drive-through antigen testing. This is at the tip of your nostril using a nasal swab for about 10 seconds on each nostril. So it's not as invasive as what you may have seen or you may have experienced in the past. That process will collect a specimen, to give to the test administrator or our school nurses, and using a couple drops of something called a reagent, which will cause a reaction in the card to then process the specimen and assess the collection within 15 minutes. So we'll know within 15 minutes whether we have a positive result for COVID-19 or a negative result. I'll go into more detail about what that means as well. So our first phase, and this is to target our student and staff populations for weekly, what they call assurance testing, which is weekly routine testing of our asymptomatic staff and students in target populations. We also want to test our students and staff who are symptomatic, who become symptomatic in our schools. I want to emphasize we are not going to be testing students who come to school sick. Our current guidance that we've had in place since the beginning of the school year is still in place. If you're sick or have COVID-like symptoms, do not send your child to school. And the same goes for our staff as well. This is designed for students and staff who become sick throughout the school day. And it's our way of reacting and responding more efficiently to potential COVID-19 cases in our schools. The process is supervised and overseen by a school nurse. And again, of course, the results, are sent electronically to staff and to students through something called a STRAC app, which is the database that CHOP is utilizing to collect the data, which is then sent to Chester County Health Department and the Department of Health. But parents and guardians will get the results very quickly within an hour of the test collection and recording in the app. We will keep in the school setting. Our process here in Upper Darby, we're going to look at a 5-phase process starting with targeted special education programs, meaning our low incidence programs in K-12, our life skills, autistic support, multidisability support, and the staff who work in those programs. Every 2 weeks, we're going to add an additional layer of students and staff, starting with kindergarten, and then first grade, then second grade, and third grade. And at that point, we'll expand to additional staff members moving forward. And again, we want to look at how many tests are available, but also what we're able to staff and maintain throughout the course of the week. As I mentioned earlier, test results are sent directly to Chester County Health Department and the PA Department of Health. If a student or a staff member who is symptomatic in school does test negative, let's say, we are still going to recommend that student and staff be isolated and go get a PCR or molecular test to confirm the results. We're still be following all the Chester County Health Department guidance with respect to responding to COVID-19 cases in our schools. On the other side, if a student is asymptomatic who tests positive, or a staff member who tests positive, we'll do the same process. Send that student or staff to get a confirmatory test using a molecular assessment, either PCR or another form. And again, the benefit to this is the schools can respond to COVID-19 cases more efficiently and screen asymptomatic individuals who have a high viral load, meaning they're the individuals who are asymptomatic who are also transmitting COVID-19 in our schools. As I mentioned earlier, part of what we're asking or seeking tonight is to move forward the memorandum of agreement with the Chester County Health Department. And once we have that signed, we can get the tests on our school locations on site. Each school location will have what's called a standing order from the Chester County Health Department that will basically describe the process that will have to be seen in all of our nurses' offices and suites in our school buildings. They become what's called a satellite testing location. And the Chester County Health Department becomes the oversight laboratory who will then authorize and ensure that proper procedures are being handled in our school settings. Everything has to be done with parent guardian consent for our students. We're also going to seek consent for our staff members as well, written consent, which you have attached in board docs tonight. They were revised very recently as of yesterday. So we're going to communicate that again to all of our families, again with the updated parent guardian consent, and we'll also communicate the consent form to our staff members as well. Every nurse and every test administrator has gone through what's called a skill validation process, where you have to be authorized and verified that you are skilled enough to conduct the Bionex Now testing by a doctor from CHOP and the lead project manager from CHOP Policy Lab as well. And we hope, if everything goes well, our start date will be this week, tomorrow, or the next day, whenever we can get the tests on campus and start working with our families and our staff who provide the consent. I'll take any questions at this time from the board. Any clarifying comments?
I do want to say to the board and to the community, man, your efforts, in trying to pull this together with everything you do every single day. I know there have been comments for the whole team and the efforts that have been going on tonight about curriculum instruction, fields, facilities, but juggling the assistant superintendent's job with special education services reopening of schools, and now taking on rapid antigen testing and putting a plan in place. Compliments to you, Heidi Einhorn. The work that you do dealing with me and us is fantastic. So I appreciate it. I would like to see you demonstrate the swabbing because I know how much excited you are to be a certified swabber, but we'll hold off on that tonight.
Yeah, and I just want to mention too, and I forgot to mention this, and I apologize. And I meant to put a plug in for our school nurses who have been absolutely fantastic in this process. Talk about stepping up to the plate to support our district. Heidi Einhorn in particular, our coordinator of nursing services, who's been right next to me with going through this process hand in hand to bring it to our district. But our nurses as a whole have been phenomenal. So make sure if you do see your school nurse when you're in school or have a chance to talk with them, thank them for stepping up and doing what they need to do and ensuring that this goes through, as seamless as possible. They are excited to do this, and they are looking forward to having this in place. So, give them a ton of credit. They're the experts in this field.
Thank you, Mr. Marshallek. Are there any other comments or questions from the board at this time? Thank you for everyone's patience. Can you please review the agenda items?
Not yet, public comment.
Other public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Is there any public comment on the Education and Pupil Services meeting tonight?
Vice President Curry, there are no public comments.
Thank you very much. Would you please review the agenda items?
Absolutely. Number one was the Delaware County Community College Dual Enrollment Opportunity, the Carpentry program for the fall of 2022.
Yes.
Yes, I believe that's moving on for board approval.
Yes.
Is the board in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Anyone not in favor? Okay, thank you, Ms. Kelly.
You're welcome. The second item is the high school English changes for planned instruction. So that's the approval of the 5 novels as presented by Mrs. Kathy Kenya.
Yes, is the board in approval of this moving to the voting meeting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kelly?
The third item is the 21-22 District one-page calendar.
Thank you. Is the board in favor of moving this item forward?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
And then
Ms. Kelly?
Sorry. And then the fourth item is the rapid antigen testing as just presented by Mr. Marshallek.
Thank you. Is the board in favor of moving this forward?
Yes.
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 Thank you very much. At this time, I will hand it back over. Thank you, Ms. Kelly and Dr. Manfrey and Mr. Marshallek for your presentations at this late hour. And I thank all the board members for being patient as well and the administrators. And thank you to the public as well. I will hand it over to Board President Brown at this time.
Thank you, Vice President Curry. I'll do something that everybody will be happy with. A motion is in order for the adjournment of the Education and Pupil Services Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Good
job.
night.
Be safe getting home, please. Good night.